Hello and welcome to another episode of the HaskinCast Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, here with another episode for you guys. So excited to be back in the Halloween season, although while I'm recording this today, it is too warm to feel like Halloween. I should be starting my Dead Like Me viewing that I do every year, but as I found every year, it's just too warm. I was hoping moving to Oklahoma, it would be cooler and I would feel more in the spirit of the season, but not quite yet. But I think I'm going to get there today because I have my wonderful returning guests, Julie and Mike Shannon, to continue our journey into their paranormal history and to talk about a couple of other things that I want to get their opinions on. Let's welcome them to the show. How are you guys?
Good.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's so good to have you back. I can't wait to continue our conversation and dig into all the things.
Me too.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It
Cool,
is.
cool.
But first, before we do, we have a couple things to talk about. One of the differences between the last time you were here and this time is that, Mike, I finally read your book, A
Awesome.
Ribbon of Sand. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I'm happy to hear that. Really, it's very thrilling to hear that.
I don't know if you would categorize it as like a teen thriller, but it is the journey of a high school teen. But I think it's one easily that adults could read and identify with because it's kind of written from the perspective of after he's become an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's I mean it's I guess some of the themes are kind of heavy, so I don't think you'd want someone like, like maybe a 14-year-old to be reading it or a 13-year-old, but I think anyone from like, 17, 18 up to think maybe into well, as long as you live, I guess.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah, we have a client who is 83 and he loved
Yeah, he
it.
read it. Yeah, he
Oh,
enjoyed
nice.
it.
Yeah.
I was surprised that I didn't tell him about it, and but then he heard about it and then he bought it. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be up his alley, but yeah, he actually liked it. So
Yeah, all about
you never know who's going to like, who's going to like whatever you do. So
Oh, that's it. I mean, it even goes beyond genre because I've read as a beta reader, I've read books in genres I didn't care about
Mhm.
and just loved the book because there was something compelling about the story
Yeah,
or one of the
right.
characters, or you just naturally root for everything to work out for the good person,
right, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
the
I
good
certainly
person
Or
character.
yeah.
I certainly appreciated the rock band references that there are because our protagonist is a big fan of rock music, and tying to some of the podcasts that I have done, there were some great mentions in there, so I definitely identified with that. But I would say it was a great balance, and this is one thing about the kind of stories that I gravitate towards liking, because you don't know until you read them, but it's a great balance of explanation of the settings so that you really get a vivid picture of where things are at and what's going on, and deep into the feelings, but also the pacing, the action, the emotion. I mean, all the elements are there. And that, as a writer, I could say that's the hardest thing to pull off. It's not about writing a compelling story. It's
Right.
writing it in a way that keeps the reader engaged.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, as you know, I mean, you've written, is that you just get involved and sort of place yourself in the setting, and you visualize it, and I think that's like half the battle. Is like if you occupy that world in your mind, I think that's really where it all comes from, where it's going to be a good story.
Mhm.
Where it's going to become believable, and you're gonna the characters will seem, realistic or whatever. Is like if you place yourself within that setting, I think that's the key, really.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. But congratulations on the book. I'm so glad I
Thank
was
you
able to
so much.
find time to pick away at it a little bit every day.
I'm really happy you read it, and I'm really even happier that you enjoyed it. That's thrilling.
Yeah.
I'm ready for book two. That's all I'm saying.
Working on it. Actually, yeah, I'd like you to beta read the book too. So
I would be honored and very anxious. Yes, very much so.
It's only
Uh,
1,012.
What's that?
yeah, no,
I said it's 1,012 pages.
no.
That's no problem.
Yeah.
No problem at all. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, if you're engaged in it, the pages just fly by. you know, it's like I'll be writing, working on a book or writing a piece of music, and the next thing I know, the sun has come up, and I thought, isn't it maybe 1 or 2 in the morning? And I look over, and the light's starting to crack
Wow.
through the blinds, and I'm like,
That's
I've
good.
really just lost my place, just being into whatever I'm
I
working
love
on. So,
that.
yeah,
That's
I
nice.
I could see that happening. There were times I really had to just stop, bookmark where I was at, and be like, I need to go to bed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's really nice to hear. That's
When
very,
I was reading it, I would dream about the characters, but
Mhm.
not like doing stuff in the book, just like in my dreams. And I'd be
Oh,
like, oh, did I just dream about Ash? You know, and he's just like,
that's
you
very,
know, because it was so vividly
mhm.
drawn, you know.
hmm,
So
Oh,
yeah,
that's very cool. I
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
that's pretty neat.
So.
Yeah, you
Neat.
guys. And the link will be in the show notes, you guys. Before we get into our topic today, we do have one other thing to discuss because we are in danger, apparently.
Oh, okay.
There is some sort of thing out in space that is currently hurtling towards Earth.
Atlas 3.
Atlas 3.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is not, it's automatically a mothership. It's not just an unidentified object, it's a mothership.
That's it.
And it's not just a mothership, it definitely has evil intentions.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm obviously terrified.
Obviously.
What is it, do you guys think about our psyche that we can't just have the drama that there's something headed our way, that it has to be a mothership, that it has to have evil intent, that we don't even know what it is yet, and we're already dooming ourselves? What is it? Is it Hollywood programming?
Oh my gosh, you wanna?
You can
Okay.
try and figure it
I got something. I agree with you that it has to be evil, doesn't it? Can't be someone to come and save us from ourselves, that kind of thing, fix pollution and make everyone equal and all that stuff. It has to be going to be, if they are going to destroy us, I hope they come before I pay my taxes because
out.
but I think that it is just a pessimism that we probably get through. I was going to say from birth, but I think from like the day that you have to live.
Taxes.
Yeah, that too. But no, when you start going to school and you're all safe in your little home, and then you get to be like 4, 5, 6, and they say go off to school, and there's all these strangers, and you meet that one bully or whatever, and I think that just kind of clouds everyone's psyche. But I think also humans are just have big egos, and like, what would the universe be without us? That would be the most tragic thing if
Yeah.
Earthlings were all, wiped out.
Mhm.
And we have a huge, in America at least, we have this huge fear of death.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about it. And it's funny
Mhm.
because for a living, I write policies for basically death benefits. So I talk about death all the time. And one
Sure.
thing I say to people is, it's not when we die, it's not if we die, it's when we die. And I literally say that to people every
Right.
day.
Yeah, it's very
And
true. People don't want to
yeah,
have that conversation. And then when
they
somebody
don't.
does pass, it's a big
Sure.
battle between the family over possessions. And
Oh
it
yeah.
always ends up ugly because we can't take 10 minutes to just deal with some uncomfortable part of life.
Right. And
Yeah.
then maybe having everything perfect is horrifying too for us. If this mothership was coming down to show us how to run our cars on water,
Mhm.
and and just make everything beautiful and lovely, and everyone has enough to eat and a nice home, and just
The power,
then what do we do without envy and hatred? What do we do with our
the
day?
powers that be wouldn't, the powers that be wouldn't like that.
No, they wouldn't. They
Right.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I think there's both those things. Like
Hmm.
we're afraid of
And we
the
have,
bad stuff and afraid of good stuff.
well, and then we
Afraid.
have to somehow put ourselves in the possible hero role, Independence Day
Yeah.
or something like that.
True. Yeah.
We're the good people.
Oh,
They have
yeah.
to, the alien, the other, the outsider is evil and bad, and we have to fix things. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're kind of seeing that in manipulated in politics right now. So,
Right, right.
Yeah,
generally,
that's
anyway,
that's
but
very true. Yeah.
Politics is another podcast we can do.
yeah, we're not going to
Yeah.
get into
What
that.
what
Yeah,
what's
for
your
sure.
take on it, Scott?
The first thing that comes to mind is I remember a shot from the rover, looking on not the dog, the actual
No,
rover on
I
Mars,
know, I know.
just pointed back and looked at Earth, and you just see how minuscule we are just from Mars, which is not that far away in
Yeah.
comparison to, anything else. And I think,
It's a cool picture.
isn't it possible that if this is, let's just say for argument's sake, it is an intelligent craft, there's somebody piloting it, they have a destination in mind, obviously
Yeah.
they have technology that's pretty cool. Maybe they don't even know we're here.
Right, yeah. I think we were kind of talking about that before.
Yeah.
Why do we assume that they're even stopping off at Earth, you know?
Right.
You
Well,
know,
that's always the
we're
common thing.
just the
Like if
Denny's on the way.
or just a speck of dust,
Right, right.
I mean, how many times do you hear people say things like, well, if aliens were real, they would have come down and greeted us? I'm like, do you realize what a tiny speck we are? I mean,
Yeah.
we're not even the biggest planet, let alone, how many solar systems and galaxies do we have? I mean, there's literally trillions of celestial bodies out there.
Absolutely.
Why are we so arrogant that we think that everybody is just like,
Yeah.
oh man, let's see what's happening on Earth today? Like,
Right, right,
you know.
exactly.
And that is what it is. It's arrogance, and we're special, and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for some people, in some religious beliefs, I mean, obviously it would shake up that whole paradigm, because we have to be
Mm.
the only intelligent, beings
Yeah,
in the universe.
right.
Otherwise,
And
we're not top of the mountain, we're not top of the hill anymore.
right. And
Right,
I
that's
think
true.
if somebody is that advanced at some group, planet, whatever, looking at us might be like me, oh, I really want to see what they're doing in preschool, all squabbling and like fighting over the ball and everything. Because, that's what we do on Earth. We just fight over whatever,
Right.
I mean, there's
Right.
a lot of great people and a lot of great things that happen every day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But, when you look at it as a whole, it's like, I want this little chunk of land. I want that part of this, or, what I mean? So, I mean, it might look very silly to them. And it's like, oh, we'll let them simmer for a while and we'll come back.
I do have to say, and not to get all conspiracy theory about it, but there was a prediction a long time ago that this was going to happen, and it was not going to be real, that this whole event is staged to put, again, fear into us. They're finally coming out. And if you think about the timing of how this is all played out, it does kind of fit the narrative. Again, not saying it's true, but you look at the fact that all of a sudden, we're actually having congressional meetings about
Yeah.
entities and spaceships, and people are
Right.
disclosing things, and it's becoming an accepted thing that this is real.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Yeah.
that line between, yeah, we've got some technology that we've never admitted, but 90% of what you see is not us, where I've always believed that 90% of what I see is us.
Yes. Right.
But now they're like, okay, so now we're starting to admit it, and some people it puts them on edge. Other people like, finally. But now there's a new threat. So you always have to keep people in check, right? So now that you're kind of opening up this widespread belief, we've got to come out and admit it somehow. Now we're starting to do that. So now we need a bigger threat. And that bigger threat is this
Yeah.
mysterious craft heading towards us with evil intentions, because of course it is.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is. And yeah, and I don't think that's a crazy, I'm trying to decide what to do with the cat. I don't think that's totally out there,
No.
because this would be, that's the cat moving us.
Oh, okay.
I know, we're like, huh? Yeah. Come on, Madgie, be a good boy. Yeah, so I would hope that if we all have that universal threat, maybe it would bring us all together. That's
Mhm.
my little Pollyanna.
Well, that's what
Take
happens.
on
That's
it,
what happens
you
in the
know.
movies.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, even in the what was that movie with Dennis Quaid where the world froze over?
Oh, I know it. I can't think of the name.
It was the Arctic freeze, basically
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
to a real
yeah.
event, and that was the thing that Mexico started taking America in because of the
Oh,
disaster, because it was one of the
Yeah.
places that it hadn't hit yet. And I'm like,
oh,
yeah,
that's
I
so
would
neat.
I hate to think of the fact that it would take some humongous event like that for people to come together, but I think
Yeah.
that's probably fairly accurate.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see if it just zips by us and goes, "Oh, hey, there was a dot. Did anything happen there? I don't care.
Yeah,
We're
yeah, yeah.
heading where we're going, you know." But very fascinating just the same. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys, and this does tie into to where we're headed today. I
Mhm.
had a really crazy theory,
Mm.
and because of your experiences, I want to kind of lay it out and see what you think. And I don't know if we talked about this last time, but what if ghosts, what we consider spirit energy here on Earth, is not actually the residual energy or spirit energy of people who have lived here on Earth as we've known them? It's not Grandma and Uncle Rob or whatever,
Mhm.
but actually just a different race of people who have not physically manifested in the way that we have.
Something happened. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I've actually thought about that before, and I don't know. My only thought on that is that it would seem that obviously they're aware of us, and maybe they then try to mimic sort of things that we might so assume that they're a loved one. Because I've had so many things that happen that seem to be so specific. You know, like if I'm asking something or I'm say talking about my parents who are both deceased, and then something happens immediately afterwards, something that seems to have some kind of direct relation to what I'm talking about,
Right.
that would seem to suggest that to me, and maybe this is what these creatures would want to make it seem like it's an old love, a deceased loved one. But yeah, I mean, who's to say? I mean, what these occurrences are? Yeah, it could be another species.
That seems way more creepier than ghosts to me because then,
It kind of does, doesn't
because
it?
yeah, because then we're being manipulated,
Mhm.
where um
Yeah, that would be
we like Mike said, we think it's grandma, and it's really this person like testing what will happen if I make the room smell like cookies, like
Right.
snickerdoodles. And
Yeah.
so that's much more creepy to me.
I mean, there's certainly some common threads. Like baking would be a good one because typically, baking, you think of grandma or you think of mom and,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. If there's like obviously if there's pictures around the house or they hear you sharing memories, they can tie into that. But like we know when you get on a Ouija board, you're not channeling grandma. You're not. It's an entity that is absolutely willing to jump in and just say enough basic things to get your mind to do the rest.
Yeah.
Grandma, do you remember that time? And you're telling the story and you're like, oh my
You're
God, it remembered.
you're
And
filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
exactly. So
Actually,
it
yeah,
it makes
sorry.
me wonder if it isn't along that lines. And I'll tell you what got me along this line of thinking was the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you think
I love that
about, if I assume you guys have seen that,
Of course.
Yeah.
yeah. So if you think about just the way that movie plays out, the way the girl
Yeah,
interacts and all of that,
yeah.
the veil could be thin enough, or
Mhm.
maybe there just is no veil.
Right. Oh.
That's possible too. I always find that idea such an intriguing thing because it's amazing sometimes, for the people who see a full-bodied apparition, that would seem on some level to take a lot of energy for that to manifest. And then, but then there's always that concept sort of in in parapsychology and stuff that you don't have a perfect um like apparition. Like so you might physically see one that looks like a living person, but
Mhm.
it can't speak.
Right.
Or you might hear a voice as perfect as clear as we're talking right now, but
Mhm.
there's no body. You don't see a
Right.
body.
Right.
So there's always that idea that that interesting thing that separates the paranormal from what we consider the normal is that there's something that makes them not quite like us. They're not
Right.
perfect in other in
Mhm.
some manner, which I find very intriguing actually. Um,
Yeah.
but as far as talking about the Ouija board, I mean, should I bring up the story of the Ouija board years ago?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yes.
You don't have to ask if you should bring up a story, just bring
Right.
it up.
Right. Okay.
Because you're talking about
I'm
the
never
Ouija.
going to tell you I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I think he's checking with me, but I've
Oh,
got no
okay.
skin
Well,
in
the
this,
idea
so
that
I
we
don't
give
care.
information, when you work a Ouija board and you share so much about yourself, and
Mhm.
I had a Ouija board when I first moved out. My brother and I moved out into this condo, And he hated the idea that the Ouija board was in there, and I scoffed at it. And I thought that was ridiculous. And so I would do the Ouija board occasionally with people. We got some surprising kind of results somewhere along the line, and this is the really weird part of the story. I started doing the Ouija board alone.
It's
And
supposed to be a big no-no.
and apparently, and I say apparently because this has been wiped from my memory. It's utterly bizarre. But I was doing
how
this
old were you at this point?
probably like around 18,
Oh,
Okay.
no, older, because I knew
19,
you.
18, 19. Oh man, maybe 20.
22.
No, okay. Well, I'm way off.
Yeah, well, because we were dating. We were dating.
Okay, so 22.
He can't imagine a time without me.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
But,
because you're awesome. Yeah.
No, I forgot
Well, she
that.
is. But so I was doing this every night, and I remember it became sort of part of my routine. That I remember that I'm like, okay, because I had a job where I drove and I had to get up at like 3 in the morning.
Mhm.
So if it was 11, I'd go to sleep. But before I went to sleep, I would always do the Ouija board. And clearly I was contacting something because I was drawn to do this every single night. I was
Mhm.
obviously getting results, and something was saying something to me. This all ended one night when I woke up to go to work. And then, of course, my room's in blackness. And I felt a body next to me. I thought it was this woman right here. And she would sometimes stay over until I went to work. But
Don't
then
tell my mom.
I was groggy, and it just hit me. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm alone in this bed. So, and there was someone pressed up. I could feel a full body against mine. It was pressed up against me closely. So I actually physically had to reach over the body to turn on my bedside light.
Mhm.
Second I turned it on, there's nobody there. But that was incredibly freaky, and that's when I stopped using the Ouija board.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's weird is, in retrospect, I don't remember if what I was communicating with said it was a male, if did it say it was a female, was it multiple entities. I've absolutely, it's like after I had that incident with something like in bed with me, it's like, and I turned the light on, it's like it disappeared and took all of my memories of that incident, of all of our encounters with it, which is
Isn't that weird?
thoroughly weird. I have no memory.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe someday I should get hypnotism or something, and see if I can uncover some of like what was happening, because I just find that one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me. 'Cause I was doing that probably for at least 2 or 3 months
Mhm.
every single night.
Wow.
So something was happening.
And he didn't tell me
I was
you
getting
were
results.
doing
This is what I was
Right.
getting, results of some kind.
Yeah, but you
Right.
didn't tell me you were doing that either, because I'm the one who bought the Ouija board, Ouija board, and we had just started dating, and we both liked horror movies and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, let's have just I was calling
A
it
spooky-
scary night. Yeah,
Yeah, horror movie.
So
Ouija board.
yeah, like the whole thing. And I can't remember if we did it that night.
I think we did.
The Ouija board.
I think we did.
Yeah, I think we did. And I always found it kind of cool. I didn't have a lot, but I just left it there. It's a Parker Brothers game, right? So,
Right.
but
It's made by Parker Brothers, so you
Yeah.
don't think it's going to open up a portal, but it actually can. It seemingly
Right.
can.
Yeah.
and he knew I was like open to all this stuff, and he never mentioned, oh, you left that here, and I've been doing it every night alone. I mean, you would think he would mention
Yeah, I
that,
never did.
and he
It
never
almost
did.
seems like whatever I was communicating with made that one of the prerequisites or something for this to
Yeah, like
continue,
this is just between you and me.
for it to share information or whatever it was sharing with me, that you have to promise you don't tell anybody about this.
But he doesn't know that because he doesn't
don't-
remember anything
No,
about
I
it.
remember.
That's
absolutely
maybe
nothing about
that's why you've locked it away, though, is because you're not allowed to know it right now, or there's some
That's
block that you agreed to that, so you're not accessing
Yeah,
it. That's a cool thought. Yeah.
a good movie.
But
Yes, it
of
would.
course,
Mhm.
when I was doing the Ouija board, I know when we did it together, and I'm sure, I
Yeah.
imagine when I was doing it alone, I never, closed the board at the end or anything.
Right.
You're supposed
So
to,
we didn't know
Oh.
anything about
so
it.
you're supposed to close these sessions, and I know I never closed any session.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that's probably why whatever was laying curled up next to me, I allowed it in essentially.
Yeah, but we don't know what happened to it because you didn't close the board.
No.
That's
It might still be
interesting.
there.
Yeah, but
Look,
there was definitely a body like laying right next to me,
Mhm.
and it was as solid as as if
Yeah.
a human being was there. So
That's it.
Believe it or not,
pretty
I can
mind
identify with that situation.
right on.
Not via the way of a Ouija board because I've only used one once and it was a very strange experience. But when I was living in California, I have an air mattress. That's what I typically sleep on because I've moved around too many times. I don't want to
Yeah.
be dragging around a big bed. It's just easier to use the air mattress. And it's gotten to the point. I mean, I've had to get a couple different ones over the years, but when you get up, when you sit on it, it kind of creaks a little bit. It has that sound to it, and which if a burglar ever broke in, they'd immediately know where I was, But it makes a certain sound, and you feel, especially on an air mattress, you can feel when there's any kind of movement. And I'm just laying there trying to go to sleep, and it was one of those nights where the bed had been shaking on and off for a while, and it still is happening to me, even just last night. Every time I try and go to sleep,
Wow.
it still just shakes a little bit, and so one night I was trying to fall asleep in California. I was getting very stressed about money because I was getting a lot of promises for work, but then funding wouldn't come through, and I was just watching my savings account dwindle. And I'm laying there just stressed about money. The bed stopped shaking. A couple minutes later, I hear the sound, and I feel the bed just droop down on the edge.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't feel it was I didn't sense any kind of evil intention or anything. That I didn't feel like there was like this immense amount of love in the room. It was very indifferent, but I was not up for dealing with that in that moment,
Yeah,
and certainly not equipped to. But yeah, I can certainly appreciate how freaky that feels. And
Yeah.
you talk about, earlier with the UFO, we talked about wanting to stay safe and being able to defend ourselves in that. This is another, like, what do you do if it wanted to smack the shit out of you?
Right.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, I
you?
run away, I think. But yeah, it's interesting because it's such a vulnerable um time when you're sleeping, you're relaxed. I mean, even if you have worries, you're more relaxed than any part of the day. You're not really, there's no defenses up. So that's like that's a really vulnerable time to feel some threat. Or not even, you're not saying a threat, but I mean, just feel like you're not in control of the situation.
I certainly felt intruded upon, I think would be a way to put it.
Yeah.
It does give you an extreme sense of vulnerability for sure,
Mhm.
because you can't defend yourself against it. You don't know how to react. You don't have any training for this kind of stuff. You're just presented with this situation in the moment, and you have to decide how to
Yeah.
react, or you just react.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's
And when did that happen?
Let's see. I was living in California at the time, so that would have been somewhere between July of 2014 and April of 2015, somewhere in there. Probably somewhere in early 2015, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So not that long ago, really,
no,
about 10
no,
years. Yeah.
exactly. But you're still having that rocking thing that we were kind of talking about last time we were talking.
Yeah.
it-
And when I talked to Dee Wallace about that, who is a medium,
yeah,
and
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really cool. D. Wallace.
yeah, and she said that it was my grandmother just wanting me to know that I'm loved. But I don't think it is. I really don't, because it's every night. It's right when I'm trying to go to sleep. I mean, sometimes I'll feel the chair vibrate while I'm working, or whatever. But it definitely, I don't think it is, because I've told her, like, I know, thank you, I'm good. I'll see you when I see you. I don't need to know every day, and it is every night, literally, when I try to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then if I just shift and turn on a different side, it stops.
See,
It's weird.
because I think last time we talked, I told you when I was about 5 years old, for months, I don't know how many months, many months, every night, whenever the rest of the house would be sleeping, it could happen. So it would be dependent on what everyone else was asleep. My bed would start rocking, and it could be pretty dramatic at times. But as a kid, I never woke anyone. I never asked my parents or anything. It's just one of those things that you just like, well, it's just something that's happening. And I would generally just drift off. I mean, the rocking would last for long periods of time.
Mhm.
They usually were in conjunction with what sounded like, or sometimes the rocking would happen, and soon after I would hear this. It sounded two adults sound like they were arguing, but they were almost as if separated by like a thin film of like a or like a couple inches of water is the best way to
Oh.
describe it.
Mhm.
And I could actually, I remember on a couple of occasions getting up, walking down the hall, going into my parents' room. They're asleep. I could still hear these voices. As a man and a woman. Now in that house, the husband died of a heart attack in that house. But
Okay.
and I remember meeting when we were going to look at the house, my parents, to buy it, meeting the wife. She looked very tired and haggard. She was holding a baby, I remember. But the weird thing is, if that is indeed, I was hearing like a replay of an argument that the husband and the wife had. The husband's dead, but the woman was still alive, which is a very strange sort of dichotomous thing there.
Yeah.
How, I mean, I'm hearing a replay, I guess, of something, but of someone who's alive and someone who's deceased. So,
Or it's just different people.
or it's someone else
Yeah,
completely.
because you never looked in the.
No,
You gotta go,
yeah,
baby.
yeah.
Well, could the whole thing have been residual though? The whole conversation, like maybe the live person wasn't involved and it was a replay of something that had happened previously when they were both alive?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what what I'm thinking, actually. Yeah.
Mhm.
That it was
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
repeat
yeah,
of
yeah,
like
exactly. That's what you've always kind
yeah,
of
some,
thought it was.
yeah, it was like they were having, it's just a repeat of some prior, this cat's right in the way
Mhm.
of some prior argument or something.
Yeah.
But it was interesting how it usually was in conjunction or soon thereafter, before or after this bed shaking would happen. So I wondered now if the bed shaking was the guy who died there, or something like
Mhm.
that, or I was adopted, so I wonder sometimes my biological grandmother on my biological mother's side died. She was only like 34 years old. So I sometimes wonder, was it her coming to like rock my bed at night to
Yeah.
have some kind of connection?
That
But
could
that
be.
was never resolved. But that happened on the road too. We were on vacation once, and I was in a bed with my mother. We had the two beds in this one hotel room. And as soon as she dropped off, that rocking started, and it didn't wake her up, but I was certainly aware of it. So that actually traveled with me, which is interesting.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
then
happened to
yours
me too.
travels with
Has
you.
it? Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
does,
because
yeah.
you're talking about California and then last night.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I was living in California when it was happening out there, but I mean, even when
Yeah.
when I lived in Arizona, it didn't happen at all. It started in California. And then when I lived in Nevada, it followed me there. And then when I lived, since I've been here in Tulsa, it's gotten worse. But also when I went on vacation to Michigan last year to see those two Deep Purple shows that happened at my hotel.
Wow.
So it does
Very.
have a connection to me. But here's the thing, and you said the key word, unresolved.
Yeah.
I just, what good does it do to shake my bed night after night after night?
Right.
Yeah.
We're not having a conversation. We're not getting anywhere with it. What are you trying
No.
to do?
Oh, that's such a good point.
Well, I
What's
mean,
the point of it?
it almost reminds me in a way of like, when we talk about like residual, what some people call residual hauntings, the idea of just this repetition, usually of mundane, like a lot of times when a ghost is seen, like the Cheltenham ghost she walks the same, down this hall, takes her
Mhm.
right down here, then is seen out in the orchard and then vanishes or whatever. So it's like the same thing, but they're mundane. It's not like some earth-shattering thing that's happening. It's not like some life-changing event in this, you
Right.
know, when
It
this
almost feels like a film that you're watching over and over as opposed to any kind of like real live thing happening because it's repeated. Like, ghosts that are seen on the Civil War battlefield, things like that.
Right.
It's just like the same thing over and over again, like a
Yeah.
movie playing out.
So maybe that shaking is some kind of, I mean, I don't know how it'd be residual. It follows you. That's it.
Yeah, that can't be
Yeah.
It
visual.
seems very directed, and yeah, that's strange.
So that brings the other side of the question is what if there is no entity at all? What if it's me doing that?
But sure,
I was thinking that. I mean,
that
I
you're
was
man,
gonna-
that you're making this happen. Yeah, somehow.
yeah,
Yeah.
but how? And I mean, so many things happen subconsciously, or
Yeah.
maybe it's like not even subconsciously, like some kind of neuro or thing, like something
Mm.
in your brain that like restless leg syndrome, but on a different level.
Yeah, I could see that. And it's got to be like typically brought on or started at least maybe initially triggered by some kind of stress
Yeah.
um, that
Right,
can
right.
lead us to tap into things. But I
That's
remember, and Amy Lee, I'm sorry if you're listening, I'm going to use the P word. I know that you hate that word. But when you look at poltergeist activity, typically that has been documented being around people of lower income, people that have young children, and very violent physical activity that you don't see in most other hauntings. So that being the case, it makes me wonder, are these kids, maybe they haven't locked off their ability to have, I think we all have those powers to some extent, whether we're in touch with them or not is a different story. But children are more likely to be in touch with things that we as adults have locked away.
right,
Right.
right, right.
And
Yeah.
I find it fascinating that those factors seem to be fairly consistent in most of those cases. Young children, poor families, stressful home, usually like missing a parent or the parents fight all the time. There's lots of stressors.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Next thing you know, objects start flying around the room. People start getting attacked. That kind of follows a pattern. So I do think it's possible. And Mike, I can't say it's any different for you, whether it might be you or it might have been something you invited into the house. But
Exactly.
considering it followed you too, it
Yeah.
makes me wonder, is it following us and doing this night after night, getting no positive result? Why would you keep doing it?
Right.
Or is it us having tapped into something that we don't know how to control?
That's really interesting. But on a similar kind of note, I think last time we talked, I brought up a ticking I heard sort of
Mhm.
floating through my bedroom, and then I went in. And I believe that was my mother's spirit. I opened the
Yes.
closet door and I started like weeping and whatever, which is not a normal thing to do.
No.
Mhm.
And then I slept very very peacefully that night, almost like something interacted with my mind. I was just
Yeah.
exhausted after it, but on the idea of the concept of ticking, one of our customers' houses we were staying at for 8 nights in a row. Well, actually, it started. It's. I heard it ticking one night when I was alone reading in their living room, and the ticking. At first, I looked over at the bookcase because there was a little clock on there. And the clock's not working, and it's not that. So I stood up, and it's like there's a ticking. It seemed like it's almost like right in front of me, and it seemed to like go out almost like through the glass of the window behind me, and then come back in, and then it just sort of like went towards the bookcase and faded. And then it was several months later we were there, and then for an 8 night period, I started hearing. I is in generally in the same area in the room reading or whatever. This ticking would start just out of thin air, and it would. And I told Julie about it, and
Yeah.
you were not around for this. But then one night we were sitting there, and then tick tick tick, the little ticking
Yeah.
started like a clock, and it sounded different from the ticking I heard here in this house.
Mhm.
It didn't sound like a wall clock. It sounded like almost like a little clock on like a bureau clock or something, like a little tick tick. But anyway, I said, Julie, there it is. And Julie's like, she's like, it's just the clock ticking.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. So
Yeah.
it finally hit her that there it is, and it's floating through the room.
Yeah, that there's no working clock, and 5 seconds earlier or whatever, there was no clock. I was so excited. Um,
Yeah,
when those kind of things happen, it's like, hurry, start recording. But I think we were both reading,
yeah.
and we actually, for once in my life, I didn't have my phone like glued to me. And yeah, so we never got a recording of it, which
Mhm.
Mike has met people who have recordings of
Well, yeah,
pickings,
because
but it was just really exciting. And I was so happy that I could say, yes, I hear it. Now, Mike
Yeah.
never thinks I think he's crazy. Well, about this. Other things, definitely.
Fair statement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I always believe him. He's very, I mean, I don't want to say he's very serious about this, but it's not something that he would fabricate anything
Yeah.
about, because that crushes everything when you start making stuff up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting to hear it, and I did get to hear that ticking, and then it just like went away.
but my point about it though is getting back to
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
what's happening with Scott is that when I heard this ticking for this 8 day period, it felt like there's nothing attached. I didn't feel like, unlike the one I heard here, which I really sensed was the spirit of my mother. It was
Mhm.
it was an emotional thing. This ticking, there's absolutely no feelings whatsoever attached to it.
Yeah.
It was just this ticking floating through the room. But it became such a common thing. I actually thought for a while, like normal barriers of reality are breaking down now. I'm like, I don't know what this ticking is, but it defies anything that science would say is even, feasible.
Right,
But it's
right.
happening every single night, roughly at the same time.
Mhm.
And then as quickly as it started after those 8 days, it just stopped. And we've been in that house many, many times since. And
Right.
never,
Nothing.
never heard it again. So
See,
I
and
don't, I
that
don't,
that makes me wonder, you think residual energy, stuff that just kind of plays like a cassette over and over again, would just keep doing that. If it's
yeah.
stopped, if it's changed, if it does it differently, then it seems that's more intelligent and purposeful.
Well, that was the thing
Yeah.
I forgot to bring up last time. I forgot
Mm.
we were talking about the Cheltenham ghost, which was always considered to be a residual spirit
Right.
until the daughter of one of the families there, Rosina Despard, spoke to the spirit, and it actually stopped and it changed its routine. It was reacting to her, and then soon after, the appearances became less and less, and at least by some accounts, then the haunting itself dissipated.
Mhm.
So that idea is a concept that's called exchange, that by confronting or talking to this spirit, you have somehow like relieved a burden of some nature, whatever that might be. And so then it's allowed
Mhm.
to go where it goes, or
Yeah,
to
like
dissipate.
saying,
Yeah.
I see you,
Yeah.
Well,
I see.
it's interesting that you say that, because I just this morning saw a clip. I figured out how to block all religious and political content from my social media, and I'm so excited because
I
that
So
have
means
what's
all the
left?
all the paranormal
Stuff
stuff
to
is
block,
coming
yeah.
through now. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, not all. There's still little bits that come through, but now a lot more of the paranormal stuff is coming out on,
Neat.
coming up as my random social media clips. And I
Nice.
saw an interview this morning with Ed Warren. And he said, if you see a ghost, the best thing you can do, and I mean, this really takes a person that has to be in the right frame of mind to be able to do this. But he goes, the best thing you could do is ask it what you can do for it.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
thought, now that's interesting, because I don't know that I want to get involved. It's kind of like, you see somebody
Yeah.
in a situation, 99 out of 100 people are going to drive by because they don't want to get involved, as opposed to just the idea of being a human and wanting to help somebody in need. Of course, nowadays we just film it and post it and don't actually help people.
Exactly. That's so maddening. Yeah.
It is. But I'm taking that concept now and thinking about something like that. Like maybe the fact that just that it was acknowledged, just that somebody actually saw it. It's like, I don't have to try and be seen. I'm coming out here so somebody realizes I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that I've accomplished that, that's all I needed to do. Why that was important is not relevant to us.
Exactly.
It's just that's what was needed to close that repetition out.
Right.
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 Although if you say what do you need me to do, or what can I do for you, they might have something really difficult for you to do. You remember you were talking about that man who was like, he helped find the murderer of some woman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and this is in a book, and so it could be something like a task,
Yeah,
some
and
watch
there
out.
there are cases of that happening where people have believed that they've contacted a spirit and they've been
Yeah.
able to get information to solve disappearances, murders,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if we're going to have this, let's make it work for everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
But I was gonna say again, that's the maddening thing about the paranormal. It's like sometimes a spirit can seem so directed, and can be making such like, intense contact with a person to like give them clues to, where something's hidden or what have you. And other times, the things we get are very symbolic,
yeah.
like we had that thing, right? Julie and I were talking about my parents who were deceased, and
Yeah.
right in this room we're in right here. And right when we were talking, there were these two circular flashes of light. One seemed to come from behind, over where I'm pointing, and one was like right up here. There was like a
Wow.
flash there and a flash there. It seemed to be symbolic for my mother and father,
yeah.
like the two things.
But that's really you putting the meaning
Yeah.
behind it.
Well, that's
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But see,
yeah,
there's
Not that I
like
don't
that,
agree.
Yeah.
I'm just
like
saying.
that thing with the Ouija board. It's like our brains will connect,
yeah,
Right.
that's true.
But
Yeah.
I think the difference would be is that you have experienced feeling a connection to an event versus having other events that you felt no connection to.
That's true. Yep. Yes.
So I would say you're probably more likely to be right because you don't just take every little thing that happens and go, oh, that's my mom. Oh, that's my mom. Oh,
Oh
that's my
yeah,
mom,
yeah,
No,
exactly. Yeah.
which
no.
is what I hear a lot of people do. They can't let go. They want to tie every little thing to, oh, that's mom watching me, making sure I'm
Yes.
okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's on a cloud taking a harp lesson right now. I don't
Right.
I
Exactly.
don't know
Yeah.
that they can just be watching us and interacting with us like that. I don't know that it works that way. I think
Yeah,
that's
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
incredibly unrealistic to me for some reason.
Right. Well, I just want, some people are like that, and although Mike was close to his parents, and I was too. I thought of them as totally like second parents, but we weren't. Mike wasn't unusually close to his mom. Like, um, we had our own house, we have our own life,
Yeah.
and we call like maybe not
Yeah, whatever.
try to call once a week. So it was like a normal
Yeah, it
relationship,
wasn't
not like,
some obsession.
I don't know, some people are like strangely close to their parents where they're not like growing up
Yeah.
from
Where,
them.
where
And
they
then when
talk
they
every
lose
day
them,
and yeah,
right. And so when they lose their parent, it's like losing a spouse,
right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that Mike didn't have that kind of relationship. It was
No.
just like a normal.
Well, that makes it even
Yeah.
more interesting to me
Right.
because I mean, obviously you're close enough to them to sense their energy, but I mean, it's almost like we weren't as close as we could have been. So I still want to, I mean, again, I'm reading into the situation a little bit, but it does kind of make sense. It's like if you had a relationship with somebody, you went your separate ways, you get back together, there's going to be an overcompensation factor. Why would death change that?
Right.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
Mhm.
I think they would reach out to Mike just because Mike's creepy. No, I
I can
don't really
I can see
just
why you
actually-
two are together.
Well,
Um,
we did talk about this when my parents were alive.
yes,
We used to talk about the paranormal with them all the time, and they were, skeptical, but they weren't unreasonable.
but they enjoyed
skeptical,
the
but they enjoyed
conversation.
talking about it.
Yeah.
So I always think because my sister gets upset sometimes. Why doesn't, and my brother too.
Mhm.
Why don't they come visit me? And I said, the only thing I can think of is that I talk to them about it all the time. So they might think that I'd be the least shocked or the least,
Yeah.
freaked out
Receptive.
and receptive to such a visitation or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to expend all that energy and you want to do it for somebody who's going to notice it, maybe that's why you're
Right.
having your thing. And while we were talking, I was thinking, so what if whatever's happening in your room, have you ever said to it, or have you ever voiced, I get it, you're here, kind of what did you call that exchange?
Exchange.
Trying to create that exchange.
I
You ever done that?
I have, and
Oh,
it
okay.
really slowed down. It slowed down from like really, I can feel it pressing on the mattress. I can almost feel like I'm on a ride where the mattress is doing
Wow.
this, and I can
Wow.
physically feel that. To
Wow.
just little
Yeah.
taps, just hey, I'm just letting you know I'm here. And it
Mhm.
got better for a while. Then it started to get bad again. And I had this Grim Reaper Halloween decoration that I got at the grocery store or the dollar store years ago. And I noticed that it was in a box by the bed. And I thought, all right, just to be safe, I'm going to get rid of this thing
Yeah,
because
yeah.
maybe it's manifested inside of that. And I just didn't realize. I was trying to
Oh my
pinpoint
God.
when I got it. And I
Mhm.
think I got it in Arizona shortly before I left for California. So I'm kind of putting two and two together and thinking it was that. And for a while, next week or so, nothing happened. I'm like,
Huh.
holy crap, it was that the whole time.
Wow.
Oh,
Then it started
wow.
up again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maddening. That's maddening, man.
But
What
I
is
think
it?
you hit it on the head, Mike. It is maddening. That is the key word for me because thinking about you're trying to tell me, assuming it's not me doing it just for the moment, assuming
Yeah.
that it's not my own energy doing it.
Right.
You're trying to tell me something night after night after night. You're not getting anywhere. We need to find an alternate way to communicate. And when I interviewed Spring Paranormal Investigations in Texas, which was episode 500, I was talking to Todd and Amy about this, and I said it's frustrating to me that we don't have a way. You could turn on and off a flashlight. That's great. You can let me know you're in the room. I can ask you some yes or no questions. That's fine. But we can't communicate. And then after I was done talking to them and, we finished the show and everything, I started thinking about it. I'm like, but they can move a planchette on a Ouija board.
Right, right. Yeah.
They can throw an accordion across the room,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So they do have some physical abilities.
Yeah,
So
but we
why
don't know
can't we? And one thing I had posted to them was, can I open up a Word doc on my computer and go, here's the keyboard, all the letters are right there, tell me what you want. And they said it's too difficult, it's too much energy to manifest to be able to do that. And I said, okay. And then I start thinking again, Ouija board, couch moves across a room,
Mm-hmm.
dining
I,
room table lifts up in the air. I mean, these things have happened.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So why not a Zen garden? We take our
That's
Zen garden, just
I think
flatten out the sand and go, here, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've read, and sometimes when spirits are being contacted, that they actually. Remember, there was a guy. I'm on a site called Your Ghost Stories online. You can
Oh,
check.
you should check it out. It's
Anyway,
really good.
this guy was part of this project. He ended up leaving abruptly because he was saying things he's not supposed to be saying about this
Oh,
secret thing that was going on. Him and this group have this farmhouse. I think it was in Iowa or somewhere, and the cameras 24 hours a day in every room, and they've been in communication supposedly with a family that lived there. It was like a mother, father.
Wasn't it a hospital?
I think it might have been
Oh,
a
I don't know.
hospital.
You just
No,
tell
I
me
think it
story.
was a
I'm not
hospital, but then
sure.
it became maybe it
Yeah.
was a hospital. I forget. But anyway, they're in contact with this family, and they would directly ask at times, like, trying to find out, like, why can't you communicate? Why can't we just talk like I talk to a person next to me? And they said basically something to the effect that, like, like something to the effect that it's like that's like against the rules. There's certain things that you're supposed to do and not
Oh,
do, which almost suggests again that we're here in this physical form now to learn certain things. And if we're gonna, it can't be spoiled by giving you the spoilers about what happens in the next
Wait,
movie.
like, what is the meaning of life?
They can give you hints
right.
like, yes,
Yeah.
the soul survives, but we can't tell you how. We can't tell you why.
In what manner?
We can't tell you why sometimes we can
Yeah.
communicate with you, other times we can't.
Right.
So that to me is intriguing. But I think part of it is that we're not supposed to know everything.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
the
agree
purpose.
with that. I've always felt that way. And I think the reason is because if you come into this life like knowing a lot of the keys to it, you're not going to have the right journey because your focus will be different. You need to discover things at certain times.
Yeah.
And if you already know those things coming in, you're not going to have the growth that you need to. So if you take especially the past life theory, right, and say, all right, this life I'm supposed to learn this. Well, I've already been here 5 times. Why do I need to learn how to walk again? Why do I need to learn how to speak again and all this? You need to develop it the proper way to have the experience when and where you are.
Yeah.
So of course we have to lock all that stuff away that we know because
Yeah.
it wouldn't give us the right experience if we were to utilize that. That makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Because if you know the end, it ruins the journey. Have you ever seen the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Well, spoiler alert. So that's Tarantino, and he's kind of talking about when Sharon Tate was
Murdered.
yeah, the time that occurred where she was murdered by the Manson family. So we're watching this movie, and it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
I don't love everything he does, but this was a good movie.
Yeah.
But for the whole time, and the cutest, what's her name? The cutest,
Margot Robbie.
yeah, Margot
yeah.
Robbie is playing Sharon Tate, and she's so adorable, and you just love her. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be terrible when she's slaughtered, and she's
Mhm.
pregnant and just adorable.
Yeah.
And okay, this is a spoiler if you haven't seen it, and is okay if I say it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so at the end, he changes the ending of her life,
Yeah, what
and they
really
go
happened?
to the wrong house and get their asses kicked by Brad Pitt, and
Who's tripping?
yeah, who's tripping.
Ball.
Yeah, it's a really violent but very enjoyable scene.
Incredibly violent.
And so Sharon Tate lives.
Okay.
Here's the point. for the whole time we were expecting her to be killed,
Yeah.
and it changed how we watched it.
So we had to go.
So we had to see it again,
So
knowing
it's-
the ending.
Yeah, so we can
Because-
enjoy the whole
Mhm.
But it was very enjoyable when you were like, oh, it's not at all what I thought.
It's like Sharon Tate
You know,
lives.
and I think that's why we don't get all the answers, because at the end we can be like, oh, I didn't figure on this one. That's so cool.
That's interesting.
I would have done things differently.
Mhm.
Maybe I wouldn't have taken the risks I did. Maybe, you know, and you just have to take those risks and those disappointments and
Yeah, yeah.
happy, you know. So I mean, I think that's a lot what, you know, that whole reincarnation. And what Mike's talking about, the family, there's rules. We can't,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think you've hit on the biggest challenge of life, because if we lived as if tomorrow was going to be our last day, right?
Yeah.
Then you're just going to go hog wild. You're not going to have any responsibilities. You're not going to have any money. You're not going to have a tomorrow because you've already created I don't leave myself room for tomorrow.
Oh,
But then you
right.
get to tomorrow and you're like, man, if I would have known that the day was going to work out this way, I would have done this. I would have bought
Yeah.
that. I would have eaten this food. You know, it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
easy to look back
Yes.
and live with caution for tomorrow, but look back and go, if I would have only known. And I actually wrote a whole album called Twist of Fate about that very thing.
That's
If
cool.
I turned left instead of right at that stop sign, my life would be completely different.
Yeah.
And I used to drive myself nuts wondering, if I had done this instead of that, where would I be today?
Right.
Well, it's like that idea of, 9/11, the people who were supposed to be going to work in the towers, and someone, had to take their kid to kindergarten, or someone missed
Yeah.
their train, or
Yeah.
someone, whatever. I mean, just those little slight things that change their normal routine.
Right. And this kind of, for me, I'm sorry, I have cat hair all over my face.
You look
But-
fine, don't worry.
Oh, well, you can't see it, but I can
No.
feel it. Okay, so what I was thinking is, back to that, what are you trying to tell me? You're driving me nuts. It's like, yeah, I want to tell you something, but I can't. But I so want to, I just can't help myself but try to give you hints. But I can't tell you. I can't just say blah, 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 whatever is going on with your shaking air mattress.
Right.
And so I mean, that maybe that's the whole thing, like there won't be a way to communicate, like Mike said, like his buddy from the site who he mysteriously disappeared. I hope
Well, he was saying
Yeah.
things. He was saying he was.
he wasn't supposed to, it was against the pact.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're sort of. Yeah, I mean, he was saying things that he was giving away information about
Right.
this research that he
And
wasn't.
we never met him in person. It was
He was an older guy too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was there and
Interesting.
he was gone.
I loved that time when you were talking.
Oh,
to
we had
him.
some
There
great,
was such
great
cool
conversations.
stuff.
Yeah, and I just felt magical.
Yeah.
You were talking to him,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
world is so much more than we think. And
It is, yeah, for sure.
yeah, it is, but it's nice. I'm one of those people like, oh, this makes me want to live, and then I'm like, I gotta cook the dinner. I gotta make it. I need to be
Life gets in
reminded
the way.
all the time.
Yeah.
And one thing I
Well-
wanted to. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, though, it's got to be frustrating for the spirit side of things. Like, let's say that day after day, every night I go to bed and they're like, hey, I want to tell you something. Hey, I want to tell you something. Hey, I want to tell you
Yeah.
something. And they can't. It's got to be just as frustrating
I would
for
think so.
them, assuming
Yeah.
that they can still feel emotions and it's not just a
For sure.
disconnected thing. But you would think at some point they would be like, I'm not getting anywhere. I've got to stop. It's annoying
Right.
them. It's annoying me. Like, I just got to stop.
But we talked
Well,
about that difference in time.
Yeah, but
I'm
of course,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Probably in the afterlife, time is not even a concern. So
Yeah.
And that's believed. Like our life,
Right.
if we live to be 100 years, it's like a nanosecond on the other side.
yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
It's like I've only been doing this for like 5 minutes. It's like you've been doing this for 32 years.
Right. Yeah,
Hopefully
exactly.
it won't happen like that for you. How long has it been so far?
Well, I was in California in 2015, so or
Okay,
2014, so it's been over 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, only 22 more to go.
Yay. I'll put that on my calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it is a fascinating thing, the fact that we can communicate without actually getting any communication done. Like there's a connection without, it's almost like the way people are today. They have conversations, but very little connection anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That they say a lot of the kids growing up now are just don't know how to socialize. You know,
Right.
they don't have these connections like we all did when we were growing up.
Now, I hear that, and I work with several people in their 20s, and they're very outgoing. They're very, I joke around with them all the time, and I don't feel like maybe I have the brain of a 25-year-old. But it just seems like there isn't a big disconnect. And maybe it's because of these certain 25-year-olds,
That's right.
It could
because
be.
these are 25-year-olds
And
who,
they've chosen to interact. They've gone out of their way
right,
to interact.
yeah, they like studied to get their
Yeah.
insurance license. And
Mhm.
believe me, there's a lot of studying. You take this massive test, and then you go through all the training, and in the end, you're talking to people all day. So it's probably just the type of 25
That's
year
what I
olds I'm talking.
Oh yeah. I was
Yeah.
a licensed agent when I first moved to
Yeah,
Arizona.
that's
I went
right.
to work for Progressive and did the
Mhm.
whole property and casualty licensing. And yes, that was a lot. But yeah, if you're going to
Yeah,
be in a job like that, especially any kind of sales, you have to have some level of social skill for sure.
right.
And it wouldn't be fair to generalize and say it's everyone in this generation because there's
Right,
always,
No,
exactly.
no, of
those
course, of
people.
course.
But I do find it fascinating that we live in a time where people just don't want to deal with anything that might be a little bit cringeworthy, might be a little bit of a difficult conversation to have. It's
Right.
like we just have to shelter ourselves from any
Yeah.
little thing that takes us out of
That-
a smile in our day, and we're not
Yes.
going to get anywhere doing that.
No, exactly.
And we die at the end. So
Yeah, exactly. And then we
Yeah,
get
there's no
to go.
spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we can go take someone's bed and drive them nuts.
Yeah.
Although, as
Yeah.
Richie Blackmore said, most of us are going to die. A few of us are going to get away with it. And I'm like, I don't think so.
No. Well, that's Richie Blackmore.
Yeah.
Doesn't he live in a medieval castle or something? Or
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I bought at least one of his lanterns and maybe pave stones, if not more.
yeah.
For sure.
But I do have to wonder if there isn't a way, and maybe you're right. Maybe it does come down to a rules thing. But if it is the rules, then why start it at all? Like, why come
Right.
and tap on my bed if you can't tell me what you want to tell me? All you're going to do is just annoy me and frustrate me, and at some point, that's got to carry over to you.
Well, I was going to say the strange thing too is that there's like the ticking I was talking about. There seems to occasionally be techniques
Mhm.
that spirits use. Now, when I first heard that ticking, it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, well,
Right.
I got to look up, has anyone else experienced this? And oddly, I was reading a book at the time. The book I think came out in the 1960s. It was a collection of just different paranormal accounts. And there's this one story of this woman. And this is like 1929. When she was a little girl, her bedroom's on the top floor. She heard a ticking floating through the room.
Oh,
But then the ticking seemed to be coming from a staircase that led right into the center of her room. She's hearing this ticking, and all of a sudden, unlike with mine, she actually saw a full apparition. A man then appeared in like a white linen suit with a pith helmet, carrying a clock. She couldn't remember hands. She can't remember a face. And he seemed to be slightly portly. She said she remembers there was wrinkles on the back of his jacket, like he had been sitting down. Came up, walked through a room, walked to a wall on the far side of the room, and vanished. So, and then she just screamed. She freaked out. I just couldn't believe that I read another story after I'd experienced it. So then I went online, and yeah, there's all kinds of people who've experienced ticking. It always seems to be some way of spirits utilize it to contact people or to make it known that they're there, which I find. And this guy from I wrote an account of my experience with what I believe to have been my mother, and this guy wrote me from New Zealand, and he has recorded this ticking on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
interesting.
And the ticking, he sent me a file of the ticking. It's like, that's exactly what I heard.
You should
Kind of-
send it to
Kind of
Scott.
slightly
Yeah,
speed-
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
if I can find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It slightly speeds up. It slightly slows down. You can kind of almost hear like
Oh,
the whirrings of like the one I heard here. I could hear almost like the inner workings of like a clock, like the whirrings of the little mechanisms, which is weird.
but it's not a straight tempo.
No, it slightly speeds up, it slightly slows down. Now the ticking we heard at that house didn't that seem to be pretty just straight ahead. That didn't seem to speed up or slow down.
Yeah, that like you said, it seemed like
Like a little,
like a clock on a mantelpiece
Yeah.
or something. You
that
know,
was a very different ticking sound. But again, it seems to be a technique.
Yeah.
Because that definitely seemed like it
Right,
was
yeah.
a spirit. It seemed to be a spirit
Mhm.
in that house. I mean, it did. Because
It did.
the room felt a little different.
Yeah, it did feel different. And then
Right.
when it went away, it was like, oh, okay. And it was like Mike said, it hasn't happened in a couple of years.
No.
Now, however, we do stay at a house now.
Actually, we're going to start staying there again on Wednesday. Yeah, for 8 nights.
Yeah, we don't, yeah. So we always have a lot of things that go on, but it seems to be progressing.
Mhm.
Now we brought, I think, did we bring up this,
Cat.
oh, you see him? Oh my gosh.
Just barely, yeah.
Oh, okay. You saw that orb?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did we talk about that before
We
with
did,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like this
And-
last time we were there,
Yeah.
I was going up to, I had to go up to the room that's on the top floor.
Mhm.
I have to
And,
go check TT.
and I
Go
thought
ahead.
I thought I had left my phone on because I heard what sounded like an elderly man talking. Quite conversation, almost like he was having an intense conversation with someone else. And it sounded like it was right on the other side of the bedroom door. I got to the top of the stairs, I rounded the door, and it just stopped. So I'm like, okay. I've always felt like the spirits in this house is an elderly man, an elderly woman, and their little dog. Because we've heard
Like a little dog barking.
yeah, but not
Yeah.
the people who live in the house now. The house is relatively new, but I think it's the house that was there before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
But,
that could be.
But this voice was quite, and then we were hearing a lot of knockings this time, like really loud tappings.
Yeah. Well, you heard very low, but you were thinking maybe it could have been the cat.
That might have been the cat, but the voice, absolutely, it was an elderly man's voice, and there was no sound up there.
Yeah.
So,
And I thought it was me working, but I was really far
you were in the
away.
basement.
Yeah. And I kind of did my own little experiment to see if you could hear it, and you can't.
No.
So, yeah, so that's weird, that kind of escalation. And it always makes me wonder, does this happen only to us because Mike is Mr. Freaky and, open to it, whatever? Because I don't know. I don't want to divulge too much about the family, but, I talk to them and I would think they'd be like, you ever hear anything freaky? And,
Well, they also had that weird thing with these toys appearing in their household.
yeah.
Well, it
Toys that they don't know where they
Yeah.
came from.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, I know.
Expensive toys that seem like they're for kids. And they only have 2 cats. And all of a sudden these toys, now they have 3 adult sons.
I don't want to get too
Well,
much
I'm just saying
into
a lot of people have 3 adult sons.
Yeah, okay.
We don't, but
No, we
Yeah,
don't.
you're not narrowing it down too much, yeah.
Okay.
but and they're definitely not doing it. And
Yeah.
they're just as freaked out about the whole thing too. And they only visit. And but yeah, these expensive toys, at least 4, I think as many as
Mhm.
6 have appeared
Wow.
over time,
That's
which is weird.
interesting.
Yeah.
And to get back to the clock for a or the ticking for a second, I'm wondering. Obviously, I'd be curious to know what that represents, but maybe it's just a communication device. Maybe that's something that they can make work very easily, so that becomes
I
hey,
think
you
so.
ought to try a clock.
That's
You
what I
know,
think.
Right.
That's what I
but
think.
because the idea of a spirit manifesting into a full body apparition and carrying around a clock, because people don't typically carry a clock around. That's
No.
not a normal action. So
Tell me
that's
about the story of the little girl.
Oh, yeah, I know what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
yeah. I mean, of course, I'm picturing like a Cenobite from Hellraiser that it has like a clock in their belly, but just because I've seen
Right,
too many
right.
horror movies. But I wish the Zen garden thing would work because I did an 8-hour podcast on the movie Jaws for the 50th anniversary with my
Yeah.
buddy Mark Roback. And we didn't intend for it to be 8 hours. It just turned into 8 hours.
I've listened to half so far. I want
Oh, have you? Thank you.
Yeah.
Congrats on making it that far.
No, it's really fun. No, it's really fun.
Thank you. But they have of all the, of course, you do anything and you post about it, then your social media starts gathering information of like items. So I've just been getting tons and tons of Jaws. Plus, it's the 50th anniversary, so there's
Yeah.
all these, like a liquid-filled record and all these things coming out, right? So somebody in their infinite wisdom made a Jaws Zen garden.
Hmm.
I don't know how you put those two items
I
together, but
have
okay.
like an
Yeah,
oxymoron.
that's
So
a
it's,
straight jump.
the sand and the rake, and there's a little shark in the middle, but I'm
Right.
like, that would be a cool thing to get if I could get, like, if I could just leave that out and the spirit could write in the sand what it was trying to tell me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, just
Now,
write him, don't worry about the shark. He can't hurt
right.
you. Tell me
yeah.
what you want. That'd be
Now,
kind of neat.
That would be nice.
when you bring up the Zen garden, sorry, cat hair.
Yeah.
When you bring up the Zen garden, is this something that you've read? I've never heard of people using a Zen garden to communicate. I've
No,
heard of like automatic writing and stuff like that, but
yeah, no, it was just an
is
idea
that
that
thought
came
you
up.
came up? Okay.
Yeah, it just came up because when I interviewed Spring Paranormal Investigations, I was asking about, like, what can we do to find ways to communicate, like leaving
Right.
a Word document open, leaving Paint
Right.
open or something. But
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
talking about how difficult it would be to press the keys down or to move the
Hmm.
mouse. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, all right, what's the most simple thing I can do where they don't even have to hold an object? Sand, writing in sand has
Right.
got to be like the
Yeah.
simplest way to do it. So I haven't talked to them about it yet. It seems like somebody would have tried that already, but it just seems like if there's a way to do it, they can manipulate physical objects. We know that. We've got
Yeah,
proof of that. So why not be able to write in sand?
Yeah, yeah, I see
that's
what you
true.
mean. Okay, yeah, and I didn't know if there was somebody who did that with success. So
I
this
don't
would
know,
be
but I'm
your
going to
own
suggest it.
experiment.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Okay,
That is
Yeah.
super. Actually.
gotcha.
You never know. I mean, everything's worth trying.
Yeah, Mike's looking at our notes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was thinking, you just read my book recently, and the lighthouse in there is actually based on a real lighthouse that
Oh,
I,
really?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that I grew up and I used to visit. It was an abandoned lighthouse, and which, of course, for a young, teenager like I was then, it was like the coolest place in the world. And so I spent many, many, many happy hours there. One night, though, I had my friend Billy and I were like, all right, let's. I'm gonna spend the night at your house. You'll say that you're gonna spend the night at my house, and we'll get a tent and we'll spend the night
Yeah, that old gag.
at the old lighthouse. His mom actually didn't mind. She's like, oh, she dropped us off.
Yeah, yeah.
She didn't,
Get out of here.
she didn't care. Now, my mom knew at the time she would have been very, very upset.
Yeah.
I told her years later, and she was upset. But anyway, so it was this rainy, kind of cold November night, South Carolina, and we set up, and yeah, it was creepy, and then we're like, whatever. But at one point, we unzipped the flap of the tent, and we looked out. Now, this is a moonless night. It's raining. There's this bizarre. I kind of bring it up in my book because this happened to me, and I thought it was just the strangest thing. There's this like liquidy looking. I call it a mist, but it looked like a liquid, almost like a plasma like kind of liquid. It was undulating, and it had like it was glowing from like within.
Yeah.
It was setting off light. You could actually see the forest around it, and it came up to our tent and just kind of weaved around it. And like at the trees, it would just weave, or it wouldn't touch them.
Yeah.
It would like go around them and kind of came around our tent. And I just found that to be one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever seen. And I think because back in the during World War II, the area had been used, the lighthouse had been decommissioned, and the area was used as a camp. I don't remember the name of it now, camp something. But anyway, it was a trick. What'd you say?
Dougal? Oh,
Camp McDougal.
McDougal.
Camp
Okay.
McDougal. Yeah, it was used as a training facility, I think, for Marines, or I think it was Marines. But anyway, so there was always like just hundreds of men coming in, going every week from this facility. And I almost think that what we were seeing was some kind of group collective energy from all of the, you figure the tension, these guys are going to be shipped off to the war. A lot of them won't be coming
Yeah.
back. If somehow there was some kind of energy that remained somehow released on certain nights at this place, because it was right around daybreak, we heard this unbelievable scream, and then it
Yeah.
just stopped everything. The forest just went quiet, and then we just looked at each other. We're like, well, the sun's coming up. Let's pack up and get out of here.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Wow.
Or was your presence the thing that activates it?
That's possible too.
Yeah.
Now
Like
that area,
if a tree falls in the
well, now that
woods.
area has been developed, so I wonder if, like, does that happen still? Is there some weird?
Well, that's the real question. I mean, and it would explain why people see ghosts walking through walls or doorways that, where the door is closed, because whatever that area was at the time that the original event occurred that was recorded, it was a different building, or it was open land, and there was no wall or doorway there.
There's
I think that would be a reasonable explanation for that.
there's a great story of Roman centurions that were seen in England, the spirits supposedly of Roman centurions, and walking down this lane, which had been an old Roman road.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But they were only from their halfway up their chest up, because the ground has changed since Roman times. So what used to be ground level was a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're still walking this path, but you're only seeing half of the apparition now, which
Mhm. That would
That's
make sense, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
and
But Julie, you mentioned you wonder if part of the reason that this stuff happens is because Mike is kind of a conduit for it. One
Yeah.
of the things that I asked Spring Paranormal investigators, now they work a lot with, they're not ghost hunters. They work going and clearing out like demon energy and that kind of things. Like they're very, okay, we don't have any other solution. We better get the guys in here that really know what they're doing and that kind of thing. They deal with very delicate stuff. So I asked them, I said, it seems to me like part of the reason that you guys would find this stuff is because anytime somebody who shouts and shouts and shouts and can't be heard finally finds somebody that can hear them is going to attach, not
Right?
going to want to let go of that person that can finally hear them.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
putting that into, practice with Mike, I would say that that's very likely because if you are receptive to that energy, these ghosts that might have been here for 50, 60 years, just trying to get somebody to hear what they have to say, finally
Right,
find somebody that they can communicate with, yeah, you're going to latch onto that.
right. Or just to be recognized.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like some of these places have like, oh yeah, we always have, voices, we always have this or that.
well,
And that we talked last time we were on about a place that we were staying at, and we heard this voice, and we told the woman, and she was freaked out because
she
she's
did.
usually
She
there
didn't
alone
want
with her husband traveled.
Right. Yeah.
And so apparently she wasn't bothered by it, and she believed it though,
Well,
you
I mean,
know.
I wanted to bring up the apartment that we lived in when we first moved
Yeah,
out
we
together.
kind of talked about
Well, I
that.
know we talked about it, but it's coming back
Yeah.
into this conversation. The idea that it really seemed like the spirits, and there seemed to be multiple spirits in that place, were really trying everything they could. Like they wanted to communicate with us. Like it was, they really wanted to. It was like it was maddening to them. It seemed that way. That's why we get that thumping on through our speakers every night. Like,
Yeah.
please notice I'm here. Boom, 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 boom. And the speakers would. I mean, it became like shattering. Like I said, we would have to unplug it every night. Just like there was this. They seem to be trying to contact us. They seem to be trying to contact our neighbor,
Yeah.
and not having any success.
Yeah.
There was. I mean, that woman saw that apparition of a woman walking up the stairs to the second floor apartments.
Right. And I
Well,
think we mentioned before it dissipated after a while, like, oh,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
it's here.
yeah, like they tried, and then I mean, the first 2 or 3 months we were there is just incredible stuff happening almost every other day.
Yeah.
Some of it very, very dramatic, and then yes, we were there for 2 years, and yeah, it started to dissipate to almost nothing by the
Yeah.
time we left.
In
So
fact,
it's almost like
we
they,
forgot about it.
almost like the spirits are like, well, we tried, and obviously we're not going to get through to these people either. They
But
just
could
kind
it be something along the lines of, you take people that are living and they don't have anyone to talk to, they've been through something traumatic,
Yeah.
and they just want somebody to hear their story. They don't necessarily want anything to be done about it. They don't necessarily
Yeah.
want to even be told it's okay. They just need to get it out of their system and for somebody to hear and care about what they've went through. What if it's something similar like that? Like it's not even about the message, it's about just you acknowledging
Knowledge.
that they're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and that might have been it, like mission accomplished.
Because I think we did acknowledge, but like as I
We
said that
did.
one time when I had that hotel confirmation, which I couldn't find,
Yeah.
it's like one of the spirits helped me. It just flipped
Mhm.
out from the bottom of this stack of stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, thanks. It's almost like there's a little reciprocity there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and because they're not getting the usual stuff like lottery numbers and help our
No,
team win
none
the
of that.
sports
No,
game
no.
and
Sadly, no.
all those kind of, because I'm sure that people ask the Ouija board for things like that, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure
you
they
know that.
ask, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's such a fascinating world because it's the most intangible thing. You know, it's not like you can drag them out. It's not like you can say, okay, tonight we're going to go in the forest and we're going to look for wolves, and we're going to go to where
Hmm.
we know the wolves are, and we'll just
Right.
wait for them to come to us, or hang a piece of meat in the air so they'll smell it and
Right.
come running, kind of thing. You
Yeah.
you have so little control, so little ability
Like
to
none, I don't think.
research. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
what can you do if you want to research the topic, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
That's why we don't, well, I'll speak for myself. When people say I'm an expert on ghosts, it's like,
No, you're not.
how the heck are you an expert on ghosts? You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's one of the reasons I
you
love.
can't put
Yeah.
them under a petri, like magnifying glass.
I love the idea of the paranormal because it can't be easily categorized. It can't be like put in, you can't just compartmentalize it and say, that's what I hate about a lot of the TV shows. This is I keep forgetting that term, this residual spirit.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you know? Because actually, as the Chilton Am Ghost shows, what some people think is a residual spirit is not actually, it's not as, it's more fluid than that. It's
Yeah,
not,
Right.
maybe it's a
You
matter of
can't
finding somebody that has the guts to go up to it, which is what happened.
Right.
Now this
Yeah.
girl was like, I'm gonna follow it around. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, you are like a really ballsy chick.
Yeah.
You know?
pre-TV.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, and I think
Pre-film,
I,
think.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, obviously, is that Hollywood has had its influence on people to, because horror movies, so many of them
Yes.
are centered around ghosts and paranormal activity, that whenever it happens, people's immediate response is to be afraid. I think
Yes.
there would be an element of that anyway, just because it's the unknown, because I don't know what danger I'm in, that self-preservation more so than the programming.
Right.
But obviously, where we're at now is just, everyone's
Yeah.
shot now because of it. But
Yes.
also, I think that it's fascinating because people are experts on everything.
Hmm.
Everybody I talk to is the biggest fan of this band, or they've
Yeah.
been to more concerts than anybody else. They own all the albums, really, so do a lot of people,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
and
right.
it's I still to this day get somebody at least once a month. It's like, I'm the biggest Aerosmith fan, or I'm the biggest Uriah fan, or whatever. I'm like,
Good for you.
Yeah.
what is the measure of that? So
Right.
it just like people saying this thing coming heading towards us is a UFO mothership with evil intentions. It's just
Yeah.
like everything has to be defined and compartmentalized, and you always have to come out on top. Whatever it is, like
100%.
you've got to be the best of, or the biggest, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's just where we're at in society.
Yeah, I think so.
When I was an administrator or whatever on that Uriah Heep page on Facebook, there's this one guy used to come. We had to get rid of him. He literally said, he's like, I am the biggest Uriah Heep fan in the world.
It's like, what
I
does
know
he
more
mean?
about him. I have more memorabilia from them.
Yeah.
It's like, God, he's so obnoxious.
What's your unit of measurement?
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one thing I do really dislike about our society. I mean, it's going on for a long time, but the fact that we rank things, we have to place things in an order. Like,
Right.
to me, it's like, I enjoy this or I don't enjoy it. Here's
Yes,
what I
it's
love
not a
about it. Here's what I dislike about it.
Not a sport.
And why do we need to say this album is better than that album? I don't
Yeah.
understand our
Not a
need for comparing
competition.
things.
Yeah, it's not a
Exactly.
competition. It's music.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
art.
Right.
These
So
are taken on. They should be taken on their own.
yeah, so I think that does loop around, to the beginning of when you were asking, why do you think? And I think that it is. We have to have that
Hierarchy.
hierarchy. That's the
Yeah.
word I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Like, I am the best of this, or so this has to be the most deadly, and I probably understand it more than you do,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I think, and that's might be what blocks people from like noticing things around them, like, apparitions and that kind of thing,
Right.
because I don't think it's something you can measure. Like,
Mhm.
it can't be,
Quantified.
yeah, you can't. You
Right.
can't, and you can't prove it.
I think that's what's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Like, you can show how many albums you have of Aerosmith, but you can't really say, well, follow me here, and this is going to happen again at 4 o'clock, and and I'm going to prove it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
nowadays you can't even prove it by, well, for a while you couldn't prove it with photography because things can be manipulated, and because how many
Well,
things are
well,
there?
and well, the
you know?
maddening thing with the paranormal is
Yeah.
everyone wants the scientific method. They like, well,
Right.
this has to be
And I
quantifiable.
get
You
that.
have to be
Yeah.
able to show that this happens under certain circumstances all the time. And of
Yeah.
course, I think it's because the paranormal breaks all the rules. There's
Yeah.
this, it doesn't play by our rules, by our
Mhm.
scientific method. And I think that's fantastic.
Or maybe it plays by the rules of religion, which people hold so sacred, but really it plays by those rules. Because how do you prove faith? You can't prove faith. That's what faith means.
Right,
So
exactly. It's
maybe
just
it's
you just have
like
to
in
believe.
line with something so sacred to our
That's nicely
society.
put.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I always say it's the greatest thing you never have to prove because you can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Your job is to say, if you just give me $1, you'll be happy.
Right. Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
And when I was growing up as a long-haired kind of like outsider, I think that's one of the reasons I was really drawn to the stories of the paranormal and was happy I had some of my own experiences. It's like you can't quantify this. You can't put this into a category and just say it's this.
Right.
I think, if you're an outsider, you might feel a little more akin to that.
Right. But it's not going to do anything for you if you do believe in it.
No.
Unlike religion, like as you were saying, for $1, I'll, make sure your soul is saved. I mean, that's really what religion
Right.
is offering without those scientific,
It's belief,
scientifically proving it, But with ghosts, it's saying the same thing. Well, I can't prove it to you, but you should believe it. Well, why? What's in it for me? At least with a religion, you have, eternal life. You have the glory of God. You have this and that. But with
Right.
ghosts,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, it's kind of cool and creepy.
Well, there's that, but I also think
Yeah,
there's
it's groovy.
the people that just don't want to understand that there's a world that we don't understand. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
part of that is just fear of the unknown, which is understandable. I'm not knocking those people for feeling that way because I get it. But I think there's also certain things that we just have to admit or realize do exist. Now, I look at all these discoveries they're making, like this temple that they just found that they believe is 6,000 years older than we believe man was even on Earth.
Yeah.
And clearly built construction, very intelligently done. And I'm like, okay, so now we have to look at rewriting history. But because people don't want to change the narrative because they're uncomfortable changing what we know to be fact or thought was fact,
Yeah, it's the ivory
they're
tower.
like, no, we're just not going to investigate it. We're not going to allow people in here, and it's like you can deal with the fact that we're wrong, or we're just discovering things that now should expand our understanding, or you can just keep it all away and have us never understand our own existence. It just makes no sense to me.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I have a great book.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here, Forbidden Archaeology. And there's been finds throughout, the centuries here, where items have been found buried in rock that's, millions and millions of years old that suggests, this is like a ball bearing. This is whatever, things that should not
Exist.
are not congruous with that timeline. And so when those are found, the ivory tower wants to remain the ivory tower, and academia wants to, like, we are the experts in archaeology, for instance. So it's like these now need to be put into a box, put on a shelf, and we're not going to talk about it,
Right.
because this does not work with the paradigm, does not work with the way that we have constructed and we say that how things have moved through time, whatever. So
But could you imagine if Isaac Newton did that? And it's like, okay, so this apple falls on his head and he's like, okay, that didn't happen.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I just think we're at such I don't know if it's arrogance, if it's laziness, if it's a combination of any of those things, but it's like we're just so afraid to find out that the world, even though we're discovering new things all the time and people get all excited about these discoveries, they don't want to integrate them into our reality. And I guess that's what I can't justify a reason for that.
No, I can't either. No, I can't either. But I mean, I guess we can all do, like, small things to sort of, like this discussion. I maybe someone will listen to, like, I have had some strange experiences. I don't have to deny that happened. Like like in the book I wrote, it's like I didn't want the ghost to be scary. I want, because why are ghosts always scary? I know it's the unknown, but it's also the unknown can be a really groovy place to go too. It's
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to be scary.
But it is true,
Yeah.
just like having that conversation, like when we were right before we got on, if you remember, I told you I was talking to
Cat scratching.
a colleague of mine and my mentor at work, for the insurance game. And I said, well, I'm a little busy. I'm doing this podcast thing and cool. Wow. Weird. What is it? And I was like, and there was a part of my brain that went click. Should I tell her what I'm talking about? And I really like her. Hi, Lee, if you're listening, because I'll send her the link. And I said what it was about, and she wasn't like, oh my God, you're crazy or loony. She was like, open to it, and we don't have discussions about the paranormal at work. We're busy, right?
Well, you
So it's
didn't.
kind
I
of
bet you
cool
will.
when,
You
Yeah, you
will.
might now.
yeah. Oh, now I'm sure we will,
I have
because,
some
we
shared.
can always sneak off and have like a little a conversation. But I mean, it's true when you open yourself up and say, this is what I believe in, it allows other people to say, hey, I'm open to that, or I totally believe in that, or I think you're nuts, but we can still be friends even though
I think we're getting better
We've had
about
all of
that,
those.
though.
Yeah, but all of us.
Yeah, I think we're getting better about that. I mean, if you look at 20 years ago, anybody who said they saw a UFO, you're nuts, you're insane, you're lying. We only do that with Bigfoot now. We don't do that with UFOs anymore. And it's definitely something where I think we've made a lot of progress, and just in general, people being open to understanding there's certain things that, people believe in, at least whether you agree, at least you respect that other people feel that way. So I think that's one positive thing about society. There's not a lot else I can say that I could say is positive about society.
I find it more and more. I find it more and more surprising when Julie and I meet somebody and we start to talk. Yeah, we always like to talk a little bit of paranormal or whatever.
Always.
And it's always surprises me now. Whereas like 20, 25 years ago, if you were at paranormal, more than likely the person's going to be like, I don't believe in that. I don't want to talk about that. Whereas now, it's surprising when you get someone who says, I don't believe that.
Yeah, that usually doesn't.
That goes against my religion or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a guy on local news here, Larry Potash on Channel 9 News, and anytime anything paranormal comes up on a story, he just like frowns on it, and he really
sarcastic.
He gets very sarcastic, and because he wants his reality to be ordered. And makes just logical sense.
I mean, he gets to do that, and we still watch his news.
So he picked the news as a profession.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
He was very opinionated about it. Very opinionated.
I find that fascinating, not to get into a thing about that, but I do find it fascinating because the news was designed to deliver the news. We weren't supposed to know the reporter's thoughts or feelings. They were there to tell us what's going on. They would typically do it with a straight face. They'd get maybe a little eye movement or something in there to kind of give you a little hint about their thoughts. But that was the job of the news. Now it's not the news anymore. It's basically like social media. It's here's what I think about this topic.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I find it fascinating how that's evolved.
The days of Walter Cronkite and
Peter
Peter Jennings are far behind us now.
Yeah.
Now it's opinion. Now it's bias. Now it's
And before I figured out how to block politics off of my social media, one thing that I noticed is that people don't have conversations anymore. They just talk louder.
Right.
They'll tell you. They'll tell you what's right, and they'll tell you how you should be thinking.
Yeah.
Right. And how you're dumb if you don't think like I do. And then when that person has any kind of argument, they just start talking over them, and then they start talking louder. I call it the Omarosa effect, where it's just like that's what you do to get your point across. It's like saying if I beat you up, I wasn't the one that hit your car because I could beat you in a street fight. Like they have nothing to do with each other.
Exactly.
That's
funny.
In fact, that actually relates a little bit to a ribbon of sand, because a bully is typically their power is their physical dominance, right? Whether it's putting fear into you, whether it's attacking you physically or emotionally. And there is some of that in the book. But even when I was a kid and I was being bullied in school, never once did I think, if you beat the ever living snot out of me and put me in the hospital with every, arms and legs broken,
Yeah.
that doesn't make you right about what you did.
No.
Right, exactly.
You got it,
It
man.
doesn't prove any point that you might, and maybe they don't care, obviously.
Well, that's what they have to offer. That's what they bring to
Yeah,
the table is
exactly.
physical
That-
dominance.
That's how they
Yeah.
that's how they
Yeah,
validate themselves.
yeah, exactly. No, I
Right.
get, yeah. Maybe that is the whole thing with whether we admit to believing in the paranormal or not, too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's very true.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask you guys' opinion on, and this is really kind of out there, but I was thinking about ghost clothing. Because when
Uh-oh.
you see
Yeah.
some things, and maybe it depends on the location, like you see on the Civil War battlefield when they've got the films of the ghostly soldiers, you
Mhm.
can see their uniforms. That's
Yeah.
part of the trauma that they went through, maybe part of why that energy is residually there. But it kind of makes me think about, how does that even work?
Well, there is a concept.
That's why I pointed to him.
There is a concept, I think I talked about a little last time, the idea or the theory, whatever, of the apparitional drama. The idea that a spirit will appear to you with what is situationally appropriate, So sometimes, a lot of that though falls into the idea that a lot of what we're seeing is sort of that we're creating it along with the consciousness of the deceased spirit, say. And so whatever it's maybe if it's reliving something, a memory, one of its memories, it needs to bring things into it. So you were essentially drawn in to the apparitional drama. But so if it's thinking about maybe or having a memory or of going to a play one day or whatever, and it was
Mhm.
wearing a certain clothes, those clothes are situationally appropriate. That's what it'll be wearing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember
And
you talking
and
about that.
if there was a horse and carriage involved, then they're situationally appropriate. They will also then appear.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
wow.
they're not actually like an apparition.
Yeah, that's true. No,
Yeah.
they're sort of accoutrements.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is but what you're seeing is theoretically uh the consciousness of a deceased entity, say,
Yeah.
That's
interacting with
interesting.
your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
So they're situationally appropriate, so then they appear. So it could be
That's a
anything.
theory.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a theory, but anything. So anything that's situationally a book, a table, a dog, a pipe, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
Well, if you guys die
Right.
before I do and I see a cat, I'll know who it is.
That's gonna be me.
But it did just make me wonder because you see in the movies if somebody dies, they're stuck in the clothes that they died in, like whatever you were wearing
Oh,
when you
right,
died,
right,
that's what you're
right.
eternally like. Again, I mean, I think most of the apparitions that we've seen, you don't really identify clothing. It's not like you can identify that they're not wearing clothing, but you don't typically identify specific clothing. But there has been some instances where people have said it looked like he was wearing a German military uniform. It looked
Right,
like,
right.
like the Civil War when it looked like they were wearing those kind of, Southern Army
Yeah.
uniforms and things like that. So it is interesting too that that would also play a role into it because it can be an identifier to at least narrow down
Well,
maybe a time frame or a location or an event.
I think that helped with full-bodied apparition I saw in that apartment we lived in, which I believe to have been this guy named Edwin Heineman, an old
Right.
picture who had lived on the property.
Right.
Because I did see he was wearing what looked to be like a butcher's apron. I did notice that he was wearing what looked like a butcher's.
Right.
Yeah.
An
Yeah.
identifier.
So that was an identifier, and
Yeah.
I could see facial hair,
Yeah.
wiry hair on top of his head. And I remember telling the guy I was sitting with, it's just some guy cleaning up downstairs. He's like, Mike, it's 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
There's nobody cleaning up downstairs. I looked down and he was gone.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that whole trying to
But
communicate.
that was an identifier. Yeah.
Yeah.
That-
Or
that
not.
apron.
Yeah, or to be seen. I said communicate.
But
Maybe
he was
just-
also working in his element, right? He was doing
Right.
something that would have been connected to that job,
Yes.
why he would have been wearing that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting. Now, when you had the ticking experience, did you feel you said you felt a change in the room. Did it feel cold? Did you just feel an energy shift?
Sort of like almost like electricity, almost. That was the way I would describe it. It almost felt like the atmosphere was charged. It's kind of like sometimes like before a storm, you kind of get that feeling.
Oh,
That's sort of-
yeah.
That's sort of what it felt like when I had the thing that happened here in the closet.
Yeah.
Now we hear the ticking at that other house. No,
No, yeah.
not really.
Interesting. Almost like a static electricity in the air.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because
that would make sense.
when I walked in the closet, I turned the light on. It almost felt like someone was physically hugging me. Again, kind of comes into the whole mom thing there. But it felt like there was like energy, literally like charging around me.
Yeah.
Hard to describe, but yeah.
See, that's it. That's when I have the bed shaking, I don't feel most of the time like there's someone else in the room.
Yeah.
I don't feel that there's
so
anybody watching
interesting.
me. Yeah. But there are times when I do feel like somebody's right there at my face.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's somebody just like literally just looking at me right there. I feel
Yeah.
that. I feel the shape of their face, not with my hands. I just mean like I sense it, you know.
Yeah.
And but that's also not when I'm necessarily experiencing any other activity. So I'm not experiencing a bed shaking necessarily when that happens.
Interesting. Yeah.
I also have an incredibly overactive imagination. So how do I know the difference between there is an energy there or it's my imagination going, if somebody were there, here's what it would feel like.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm the same,
Yeah,
you
that
know.
that can drive you
My-
nuts too. And
yeah.
not knowing where your imagination ends and the actual experience
Yeah.
that's unfolding and begins. Yeah.
I mean, I have a hard enough time dealing with reality, let alone making stuff up
Yeah, me
to put
too,
in my
man.
own way, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking when you were saying that Dee Wallace tells you that it's your grandmother. I wonder if she's just trying to make you feel better. Like it's not something so nice and cozy and put into like a little pouch for you to sleep on at night. You know, maybe there's something more to it, you know. Yeah.
But that's where the frustration comes in because that lack of any dialogue, any, you know, understanding of,
Right.
okay, I get that you're here. I get that you're trying to get me to
Now
notice
what?
you. Why? What do
Right.
you want? How can I help you? You
And
know?
that
Have you tried to ask questions with a tape recorder and like get an EVP or anything like
I'll
that?
be right back.
No.
Right over here.
Yeah,
No.
you're like
I'll-
me.
Oh,
I don't have a huge interest in that because I don't like the idea of hearing a voice in a room that I have to stay in all the time.
Yes. And you know what?
Particularly-
When I lived in Colorado, I was recording vocals for a track and I
Yeah.
went back to listen to them and I saw this little bit of audio on the screen and I'm like, I wasn't singing there. And I
Right, right.
boosted it up and sure enough, there's a voice whispering into that microphone.
Wow.
And that was the one time, like I don't mind EVPs, they're fine, but not
Yeah.
when they come from my own place.
That's my philosophy too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a harder time with that. Now, if it was something like I'm hearing a noise and I want to record it, I would be perfectly fine with that. If I heard a
Yeah.
voice attached to that, that would kind
Yeah.
of freak me out a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah. That's what Mike always says. When
Well, my brother was telling me to get this house that we're going to start staying at again on Wednesday, because I've heard that old man's voice and stuff. He's like, "Why don't you?" And we used to have doors opening there all the time.
yeah.
Of course, I saw the orb there. He's like, "Why don't you ask questions and try to find out?"
Do an EVP.
And I'm like, "Because I got to sleep in that room, often alone." You know, sometimes we're doing
Yeah.
something like that. It's like I don't.
We don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I don't want to hear
No.
like
Yeah.
you're here. It makes you
Yeah.
kind of angry. So
Yeah, we don't like you.
Exactly.
Watch
Yeah.
videos,
I don't want.
sleep
I
in
don't want to
anger.
hear that.
Yeah,
I do
Right.
talk to, I will speak to the spirit sometimes to say, "Hey, I'm back here for
and that's all. We
I'm
don't.
back
ask
here for a few days. I'll respect your privacy. I won't go into these rooms or this room. Please give us our privacy when we're here."
Mhm.
And it does seem to work actually. It
Yeah.
does.
Although
That
I have
does-
a confession, I did try to do that
Yeah.
once there. After you saw that orb,
Oh yeah.
I put on my phone to see if
No.
and
It
there
was a perfect circle. Floating
Wow.
around in the air.
Yeah.
By
all I heard was crinkly bed noises and like
Mhm.
yeah, the odd knock.
yeah. So
Interesting.
I did try to do it once.
Well, the one
That's
the
how-
one that I caught, it's interesting because I was living in Broomfield, Colorado for 1 year, and it was during that year I moved there February of 2001 and moved back to Arizona in February of 2002. So it was just 1 year in that apartment, and that was of course the year that 9/11 happened, which is why I remember what year I was there.
Yeah.
But when I was recording and I played that back, the message that I heard was a voice whispering into the mic that this is what it sounded like to me. It said, "Bush lies waiting for you."
No.
And I thought, okay, that could mean a lot of things, but does it mean Bush's lies are waiting for me?
Oh,
Does it
It's
mean,
how you emphasize. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
because there's no comma, there's no,
Yeah,
pause.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
literally just a string of words. And I'm like, I mean, again, if you can't interpret it, it doesn't really help all that much. I've never
No.
had
Yeah.
any experience that I could say that's what it was talking about. Like nothing that I could connect it to. So
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
you send that to Mike?
I think
No.
I did. Yeah, a while back. Yeah.
Oh, I have to find it because I remember trying to listen to it. I thought it was that on the phone, and I want
It's
to put it
quiet.
on. Oh, yeah, but I have better equipment that I use for work,
Right.
Mhm.
and I want to try to listen to it again with I have a speaker and a better
Oh yeah. Okay.
equipment,
If you
better
can't
than
find it, let me know and I'll send it again.
Okay, cool,
Yeah, I
cool.
don't know how
Yeah.
many times we've heard voices that we don't know what they're saying, and that always drives me nuts because you want it's like
I
what's
want to hear
what's
it.
being conveyed, like that woman we heard in that room of that one customer's house in the basement. She
Mhm.
said 4 words, and it sounded like adamant. She was trying to convey something. We neither one of us understood what she said. But then on the other occasion, here in our bedroom, that one night when I was talking about how I hate writing, I hate writing at night, and then there was a woman's voice in my ear that said, "I know you don't. That
Yeah.
I don't like writing." So that was in direct response to what I was telling Julie, which is interesting.
Right. Yeah. See, it's one thing if it's a garbled transmission, that's just as frustrating. I might say it's even more frustrating than not
Mhm.
being able to communicate at all because now you're closer, right? You're right on the edge of an
Yeah.
answer that you still can't get.
Yeah,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
it will drive you nuts
Yeah.
sometimes.
The
Totally.
closest I
But like,
came to that story was when I used to work at an office in Scottsdale, and it was late in. I worked a late shift because I would come in late and just be like the person if a customer needed anything later in the evening, I would be available for them. So one night I came in, or one day I came in, and for some reason all the lights in the office went off. And we had these like under our like we had these overhangs for books and stuff, and underneath those we had light strips. So the only thing I had on was just the light strips on my desk. Rest of the office pitch black. And it's getting time to go home, and I just like let me finish up a couple things and then I'll go. And I hear this voice whisper directly into my right ear, Scotty, just like that. And no one at the office called me Scotty, of course. It's,
Mhm.
it was always Scott or hey
Right.
you or do this
Yeah.
for me, but
Right.
never Scotty.
Hey.
And it
Huh.
was a whispered voice, and there was no one on the entire
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
floor
Wild.
but me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I've directly heard anything. But that was like, I'll do this tomorrow. I
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
think I'm
That's
gonna go. But then I'm
wild.
like, I'm leaving those lights on under my desk because otherwise it will be completely pitch black
Yeah,
all the
Right,
way to
right.
the elevator.
no,
So
yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
Well, I heard
yeah.
that weird voice, which I brought up last time, but it's right here down this hallway to my left here. And I thought it was Julie saying, "Help me, help me."
Yeah,
Yeah.
Very like she like intensely, it was like mournfully
yeah,
almost.
Mhm.
It wasn't you, but it
yeah,
sounded exactly like you.
Now,
yeah.
there's supposed to be, from what I've read, and again, it's all theory because nothing's, again, tangible or provable, but there's a theory that if you hear the voice of someone you know and they're in dire need, or you hear your own voice, which has got to be the freakiest thing that you
Yeah,
could
that would be great.
experience,
Yeah.
calling for help, that is demonic, and they're trying to get you to do whatever they're
Yeah.
bidding you. But
Oh, wow.
Of,
yeah,
Okay, good to know.
just a
of course,
theory, though. Again,
Yeah, yeah.
of
I've
course.
never heard
Yeah, I've always said, now of course I don't know. As I brought up last time, I didn't believe necessarily in nature spirits until I believe I had an encounter with one. So
right.
I'm always open-minded about everything.
hmm
Mhm.
But right now my sort of thing is I always sort of shun the idea of demonic because it gets then into directly into religious sort of territory. And you know, I don't really subscribe to any religion. I do believe that there's a greater power, but that's sort of where I leave it because
Yeah.
I just don't, I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, I'm the same way, but what if it isn't that? What if it's just that that's how we've categorized it because
Right.
that's what we
That's true
know?
too. Yep.
So I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, very intelligent guy, was studying a UFO video one night. He was studying the Dome of the Rock, which is this UFO that comes down,
Yes.
it hovers over this church and just
Yeah.
boom, takes off at incredible speed from a dead stop.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he goes, "That's fake." And I said, "Why is that fake? What is it that you're identifying?" And he goes, "Because that's not physically possible."
Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
I said, "Well, wait a minute. It's not physically possible with our understanding of physics and our technology. That doesn't mean it's not possible. It just
Right.
means we don't know how to do it." So when I think about things like demons or things that we've associated with a specific context,
Yes. Yeah.
what if that's just how we understand it, because we have to name
I,
everything and categorize everything? It could have nothing to do with that in reality.
I think
Right.
that's a very good
And
possibility.
maybe it has nothing to do with us. Like maybe your
Very
bed
possible.
shaking has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? It just happens to be you're there. I
Well,
don't know. You know,
where
I
I
don't
would
think that's
love to
us. I
think
don't
that's
think
the
that.
truth, the fact that it's
Yeah, I
followed me
don't.
to three
No,
different
it's
states.
yeah, no, it
I
seems
think you're cursed. Don't worry about it.
Thanks.
It's me.
Well, it's been great having you on.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's obviously something, and there are spirits that have been known to attach themselves to people, and that's why I never went to Zach Bagans' haunted museum in Vegas, because I was very worried that something would be coming home with me, because I have
Oh, yeah, yeah.
enough of that energy and that connection. Obviously, something's connected to me to where I'm like, I know what kind of stuff he's got there, and I am
Yeah.
not bringing that home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially living alone.
I'm trying to think if we were
Those
back.
are less scary when you have somebody there.
It's possible we
I
brought
think.
things back. We used to do a lot of investigations back
Yeah.
in the 90s, and
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. That's too big of a topic to start after all this chat. You know,
We'll have
it's
to
like,
dig into
oh,
that
gotta
next time.
start
Yeah,
into that.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. It
Part
is.
3.
It is so fascinating, though, that there's the world that we know, the world that we're very comfortable with. We get up, we go to work, we do our things. We come home, we eat, we do the things we do, and that's our everyday routine.
Mm.
In a way, it's very strange to think that just on the other side of this incredibly thin veil is an entire other existence that
Mm-hmm.
goes on
I
right
like that.
around us all the time. And I'm fascinated by that, because I want to know everything that's real.
Mm-hmm.
If time travel's real, I would just want to know if it is and how it works. I want to understand
Yeah.
that. If
yeah.
there were ancient civilizations that have been so far removed from Earth that we have no record, no understanding of them, like the one we may have just discovered at Gobekli Tepe, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Um, I just want to know.
Right.
I want to understand the reality of the world.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the things that, not to get into religion, but it does frustrate me about the Catholic Church, that they are known to have so much of our history locked away in their vaults.
Yes.
And again,
Right.
we're not allowed to understand our own world. I don't like that someone gets to decide that for me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no, it's just like in
Yeah.
the government. How much do they know? How much,
Yeah.
what information has been completely sealed
Right.
from our eyes?
Yeah.
It's it's frustrating for sure, because
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's all about power. I mean, it's all about fitting someone's narrative
Mhm.
and power. And, I think honestly, because they've known for so long, if they were to come out and admit that they've known all this time,
oh yeah,
the amount of trust, obviously, whatever's left is gone
we'd
at
Right.
that
be
point.
a
Exactly.
million pieces. Yeah.
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 would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lie has to be, or the concealment has to be, is paramount. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, they say once you start lying, it's just a chain effect. You have to make up another lie to cover up that lie, and then you got to hide this to cover that up. And
Yeah.
where does it end,
No. Yeah. It just
It
it
doesn't.
goes on and on, perpetuates itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you can get a ghost to write in your Jaws Zen garden
Oh,
what really
yeah,
happened.
you can do it. You can do it.
If
When
they're
they-
allowed to tell you.
Yes. I want you
Yeah.
to record that.
Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, now that would be something I would be tempted to, like, just get a camera with a time lapse or something on it, and just keep a light on, and so, like, put it
Oh
in
my
another room
God.
and do that. But again, like, the idea of reviewing that footage and knowing that happened in the place that I live, and
That's the thing. That's the key right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We'll do it right like a week before you move out.
there you go.
Yeah,
That,
seriously.
that would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
But then it's been following me, so
Yeah, that's true. It's followed
Oh,
you in
yeah.
multiple states. So I don't know.
But maybe if there's that reveal, maybe it will stop following you.
That's true. Maybe that's the thing, that just the acknowledgement, just that, you
Yeah.
know, you saw me and now I can move on.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it literally could be waiting for you to try to communicate with it in that manner with the EVP kind of thing,
That's
the tape
true.
recorder. But yeah, but I'm with you on it because once you do that, it might say something you don't want to hear.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know?
then you're stuck.
That's
Yeah.
just it. You can't unhear something. You
No,
can't
right?
unexperience something.
Yeah,
Grim. Yeah,
that's
our cat's
exactly it.
it's a really-
I know our cat is
Yeah.
going crazy.
Totally.
He can't hear it
Yeah,
though.
our
I
cat's
my-
Yeah, no, I
meowing
can
like
hear it.
our
No,
cat's
no.
caterwauling
Yeah,
over
yeah.
here.
Yeah, no, it's not coming through at all. I, as always, have had just such a great time talking to you guys. It's
Yeah.
amazing the stuff that we dig into, the ideas that we have, the
Fun.
things that just kind of develop as we have these conversations. I love it.
It's really
Yes, me too. Me too.
Yeah, we love talking to you.
Sounds
man.
like we have a part 3.
I think very
Okay.
much so. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. You let us know.
Yeah, I will definitely be in touch on that. In the meantime, guys, go check out A Ribbon in the Sand. It is a fantastic book. Again, link in the show notes. I really hope that you get your new book finished soon, because I'm dying to know what happens next.
You'll be a beta reader for sure, man.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Awesome.
I can't wait. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. And for
Yeah,
those of
you
you guys
too.
who are listening, please remember, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, new episodes of Deep Purple Smoke on the podcast will continue probably through July of 2026. And I think that's when that will wrap up. Probably, I want to say, I'm predicting September right now for my third and final band podcast will be starting. We'll see how that all unfolds. I might just get some kind of itch and just start recording it next week. Who knows, the way I am? It wouldn't surprise me in the least. You guys have a wonderful day. Have a happy and safe Halloween, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.